Hi there, welcome to another Friday Findings video. This video is the third and final in a series teaching you how to do Kumihimo braiding. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to take your braids and turn them into a piece of jewelry. So in the first video, I showed you how to do just a plain braid with fibers. This one done with crochet cotton, this one done with a few different types of yarns. In the second video, I showed you how to add a lot of fun to your braiding by adding beads. And today I'm going to show you how to finish that up. So when we do our braiding, we have ends that have to be dealt with. If you just leave them loose, they will fray. Now for a temporary measure, we just tied them in an overhand knot on these ends. For the beaded one, we had to do 1/4 of an inch to a 1/2 an inch of braid before we start beading on each end. And then this end is also tied in an overhand knot, which of course we don't want in our jewelry. And so what we need to do is bind our cord. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Here's an example of this one that's been bound just with some thread and then trimmed close. You want to be sure when you do your binding and your trimming, don't do your trimming until right before you're ready to finish your piece of jewelry or cord, because this is just wrapped around and it could quite possibly come out. So the neatest way to finish off the ends of a braid is to use some kind of bead cap or end cap. I have bead cones here which work. They are a little bit smaller than I'd hoped they'd be. When you're choosing your bead cones or caps, you can use a caliper to measure your beaded portion or to measure the end of your braid and get an idea of the size of bead cap that you want. I suspect my problem with these is that where I was looking for inside diameter, these were measured from the outside diameter, but they'll still work fine. So these are about 1/4 of an inch deep, so I want to bind my cord that's unbeaded about 1/4 inch from the end of the beads. And I'm just going to use some heavy thread. This is sewing thread, it's for buttons and such, so it's heavy. And I'm going to cut about 1.5 feet, and then you want to fold it nearly in half, not quite in half. Have a long end and a short end. And you'll have a loop where you folded it, and you're going to place that loop right over the cord where you want your binding to be. Like I said, I want mine to be about 1/4 of an inch from the end of the beads. Pull the shorter end out of the way, and then I'm going to take this longer end and just wrap it nice and tight, 1/2 times or so. So once you have your wraps made, take the long end that you were wrapping with and tuck that through the loop. And then grab that short end that we've been ignoring all this time and just pull on it. Pull it snug. And now pull those two ends apart and just make a square knot for some extra security. Right over left, left over right. And now use some nice sharp scissors and cut all the threads right above the binding. So then once your braid is bound, you're ready to glue it into your bead cap finding. Now some bead caps come, like the one pictured on the screen, with a little loop already attached, and they're nice and ready to tuck in any of your Kumihimo braiding. Some, the ones that we use for beading, come with a hole in them, and you'll have to prepare a loop so that you can hang your clasp and the other findings to it. And in this case, I'm just going to slide in a head pin. Now depending on the size of the hole of your cone, you may need to put a small bead on the head pin so it won't pop through the hole. And then we're just going to make a wrapped loop here. And you can see this one here I already have done, and I've added my lobster clasp to it. And on this end I'm going to add a small length of chain. So we just hold it with chain nose pliers, make a 90-degree bend, tuck round nose pliers into that bend and make a loop. I've shown you this many times before. Finish the loop by reposition the pliers so that you can do that. Open up that loop a little bit. Don't forget to add your findings before you wrap the loop. Close that loop and hold it with chain nose pliers. And then use another pair of chain nose pliers to wrap the wire around that little stem. And trim the excess wire. Tuck in that wire end if you need to. So then the next thing, you might be wondering, how are we going to attach this to the cone? And the trick is we're going to use a very strong glue. So this is E6000. It's a very strong glue. However, it is rather stinky, so I apologize if you're hearing the outside noises now, but I did just open a window. So I just put a little glob on a scrap of paper, and then a toothpick is a great tool to just glob, these are all technical terms, you know, glob that right into the bead cap. Fill it up maybe halfway or so, and then you can just press the end of your cord right in there. And the final step is to wait. This is best if you just leave it overnight. So here's my bracelet all finished. And as promised, let me give you a few tips for when you're choosing cord and beads for your jewelry project. So for example, this is a 7-inch bracelet, so I would need 7 times 3, so like 21 inches times the 8 cords to make a 7-inch piece. And one easy way, if you're using seed beads, they're usually called numbers. Like most of these are number 6s, and what that means is there are 6 per inch. So you can simply multiply that by how many inches you need, 6 per inch. So 6 times 7 inches is 42. You need 42 on each of your braiding pieces. And then again for cord, you'll need about 3 times the length, again for each of your braiding pieces. So 7 inches of beads times 8 and 21 inches of cord times 8 would make a 7-inch bracelet. Also, I have a fun little tool for you that I found online. Here's a screenshot of it. It's to help you plan your color designs in Kumihimo. It may be a little bewildering when you look at all 8 at first and wonder just how the patterns will go, but if you look at this tool, you can see I've chosen some of my favorite colors and put them in a cord, and now I can see exactly how I would need to arrange them on my disc to get this exact pattern. A few other fun little tips would be to add some fine metallic threads, or use several finer threads together in a bundle and treat them as one weaving piece. Now with this one, before I added the bead caps, and on a necklace or anything, I could have added a large whole bead or a pendant, and do that before you glue on your end caps. And finally, if you go to the blog post that accompanies this video, you'll see it up here on the screen, a link to that. I've got some links to some fantastic books that I found very helpful when I was first learning Kumihimo. So this concludes my series on Kumihimo braiding and beading. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you like this video, up on the screen are a couple more like it that you might enjoy, and please make sure you've subscribed to my YouTube channel so you'll see more like it. Thanks for watching. Happy creating. Bye-bye.